I can take this guy.
Whatever happened when you killed that dragon? It revealed something in you.
Hey folks, Max again, and on this episode of Great Levels in Gaming, we'll be diving into Bethesda's huge 2011 RPG, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, to take a look at the quest, The Way of the Voice. This takes place early in the main questline and tasks you with climbing the 7,000 steps up the throat of the world, the tallest mountain in Skyrim, to reach High Hrothgar, which is the monastery near its peak. High Hrothgar is not our focus now though. Instead, I want to focus on the climb itself. Here, as in the game that was the focus of my first video, the journey matters far more than the destination. The framing of this quest is that you've just discovered that you are what's called the Dovahkiin, or the Dragonborn, and you've been summoned to the monastery atop the throat of the world to learn really just what that means. The ascent up the 7,000 steps is strongly spiritual to the Nords of Skyrim and is depicted by some as a peaceful, tranquil event, and by others as a harrowing challenge of strength. The act seems to me to represent the Dovahkiin rising to the challenge, both figuratively and literally, and it really kicks off the main quest. I love seeing, or at least perceiving, that kind of symbolism and imagery in the gameplay, and one element of the quest, the Frost Troll, seems key to me in delivering on the premise of the quest. While most of the enemy spawns on the mountain are random, this Frost Troll will always appear in this location, and its placement is my favorite part of this quest for a few reasons. While the diverse combat options available to you mean that the experience really will be different dependent on your character's class, low-level characters will in almost all cases just be obliterated by the troll, and that's really important to what this quest achieves. The gameplay here supports the themes of the story because, despite the differences between each character's skill, race, and strengths, each takes on the role of the Dragonborn, a hero of legend in the land of Skyrim. The ascent up the mountain is framed as a test of worth, with its completion being the moment when the Dovahkiin is fully realized as a truly heroic figure. This being the case, it's right that the troll is so powerful that it'll overwhelm a low-level character, since that legitimizes the challenge and makes the eventual victory actually worth something. This is actually a common literary mechanic, in which the hero is initially defeated by their adversary, but after time and experience, the hero returns stronger than before and is finally able to win. To see this at work in a couple of other stories, Luke Skywalker's victory over Darth Vader in Return of the Jedi carries more weight after his defeat in Empire, and Bane's defeat at Batman's hand is more meaningful because he had so easily defeated Batman in their first fight, breaking his back. This type of event is likely to happen to players many times when playing Skyrim, but this instance ties in with the central theme of the quest and is uniquely primed to happen since the troll will always spawn in the same location. The first time I tried to make the climb, I was playing the role of a Khajiit thief built to use arrows at range or a dagger in the back to get a one-hit kill before the enemy could react. Not being spec'd for head-to-head melee combat, I was just absolutely wrecked by the troll and had to slink off to complete side quests until I'd grown strong enough to defeat it. This is, I think, the quest's greatest strength. The troll can be so difficult, especially for low-level characters, that it can be damn near impossible to defeat. At first glance, you'd be forgiven for thinking that setting up an intentional gameplay roadblock would be harmful to the game, but its overall effect is actually very positive when you consider Skyrim's focus on non-linear gameplay and player freedom. In a totally linear game, this would block off 100% of the remaining content, but Skyrim is so full of other quests and activities to do that it really only prevents you from accessing a very small amount of what's available to you. In this regard, it's smart that you spend a good deal of time climbing the path as it winds around the mountain before you encounter the troll, since it gives you the chance to look out at the landscape around you and see all the areas in the distance that you can freely explore. Where this freedom becomes really interesting is in how carefully tuned it is to Skyrim's system of character development, so let's take a look at some of that encouraged adventuring while we look at the game's leveling system. Role-playing games are often characterized by player choice and gameplay style, but Skyrim is built from the ground up on the idea that you should have the freedom to build a character with whom you fully identify and whose strengths directly respond and are tailored to the way that you play. The game does this in a clever way by just simply granting experience and levels to individual skills as you perform actions associated with them. If you attack using one- or two-handed weapons, that skill will increase over time, and taking hits while wearing light or heavy armor increases that respective stat. Even your non-combat abilities behave this way. Interacting with other characters and bartering at shops increases your speech stat, while brewing potions with ingredients commonly available in the wild improves your skill at alchemy. There are a total of 18 different skills, each with its own skill tree, and the Dawnguard expansion brought with it an additional tree each for both werewolves and vampire lords. Therefore, as you play the way that you like, the skills that you use the most will increase accordingly, and when you level up, you'll be able to spend perk points on abilities higher up in that skill's tree, making your character much more uniquely yours based on how you play. Alright, this is my favorite part because we get to use math. And I hope that you're as pumped about it as I am, because what they do with it is actually really cool. So, every new character of a given race, Nord, Khajiit, Orc, the various elves, what have you, starts with the exact same stat spread. Not particularly unique, right? Well, as we detailed before, as you play, every time you swing a sword, cast a spell, pick a pocket, or whatever, your skills grow just a little bit. I like to think of these individual gameplay choices as separate events, so to speak, each differentiating your character a little bit more from their starting point. For example, let's take a look at a fresh Breton character in 2 combat events. Offensively, we immediately have these 5 options. The first fight has 5 branches, each with 5 of its own from the second, so if the 2 give different amounts of experience, we get 25 characters that are each a little bit different from one another after only 2 events. If we expand this across hundreds of events, at the end of each set of choices is a unique character with more pronounced differences from the others, and very quickly your character becomes one in millions of very clearly unique builds. Essentially, as you make more choices and perform more actions, your character becomes more distinctive and noticeably your own. So, by turning you away at a low level to come back later, the game gives you the time to make your character uniquely yours by the time you come back. I like to think of it almost like growing up and finding your own identity, just with less teenage angst and more giant flying lizards. When you're finally able to defeat the troll, your character's identity has matured and become more concrete, just like mine or yours in real life, tying right back to the quest's themes of growth and proving yourself, cleverly playing to the greatest strengths of Skyrim's gameplay to do so. In total, The Way of the Voice uses basic game mechanics to great effect, leveraging a lot of meaning for both the story and the gameplay in a very simple way. The troll's placement creates a legitimate challenge that is both difficult and satisfying to overcome, which adds depth to the quest's central themes. Additionally, the challenge to new characters encourages exploration and seeking out of self-led experiences, a core concept around which the entire game was built. In the end, the reliability of the encounter with the Frost Troll is a seemingly simple inclusion that highlights and enhances both the story and the gameplay without either being watered down to promote the other. It goes to show that, in game design, such a small detail as enemy placement can have a mountainous effect. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing your thoughts and opinions in the comments below, and if you have any suggestions or requests for a level you'd like to see covered in this series, I'd love to hear them, and you can send them to me on Twitter or at the email listed in the description. I hope you enjoy the video and that you'll join me next time in taking a look at another great level in gaming.